There we go, everyone. Finally, it's past 2:30. It's actually 2:38. It's 2:38 on a Wednesday afternoon. My name is Donny. It is my Innovation Fika. Third time's a charm. We've had trouble with the technology, but hey, what would tech be if it never failed us once in a while? Keep us on our toes, right? Anyway. Very briefly, I won't spend too much time talking about myself. I will, however, just say that my name is Donny. I go live here every Wednesday afternoon, 2:30, usually 2:30 p.m. Swedish CET on LinkedIn, and also today on Twitch. And then on YouTube is all of the recorded Innovation Fika. So go to my YouTube channel, Donny S. Ligones, and check out all of the recordings. I'm uploading them as they come. And make sure to follow me here on LinkedIn and Instagram as well for a daily post on innovation and startups and entrepreneurship and inspiration, of course. Subscribe to my newsletter on innovationfika.com, or if you're in Sweden, you can send a text to 71140 with the text Fika. Enough about me. Now, all about our guest. Innovation Fika is all about the cool people I get to meet and the cool tech or ideas I get to talk about. And today, without further ado, running into it, here is Adam. I am so glad to have you here, finally.
Yeah, I totally agree. What would technology be without some complication once in a while? We need to think and rethink technology all the time.
Yes, it's like being in a computer game.
Yeah.
You know, and sort of getting to, I wouldn't really call this a boss level, but but it almost, I guess, but it was more than just the ordinary grind. It was more of a boss thing to overcome today's technology threshold.
Yeah,
so I've leveled up here. I managed to get you in. Third time's a charm. Here we go. So Adam. Yes, Adam, you are a gamification designer. You're not only that, but you are also a PhD in gamification.
Oh no! I'm a PhD candidate. So I'm not finished yet because it's a protected title. I cannot call myself a PhD yet, but in a year or so. But
okay.
in the last part of my PhD studies.
Okay, so you're soon to be a PhD in gamification.
Soon to be a PhD. Yeah.
But you are a gamification designer.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely. Okay. And I've been working with gamification design mostly for learning, actually, for about both analog and digital, because you can do both things. But I've been working with it since 2013, so to speak. But
all right.
Before then, I've been designing board games and tabletop games.
Okay.
Analog. Actually, I have a background in analog games, and it actually have given me an edge, because I know how you cannot do a day one patch on a board game, right? So I know that you have to make it quite thorough the first time when you do, and that's one of my strengths as a designer. I think you have to do it thorough, meaningful, valuable the first iteration. Then you can tweak after that, but it should be comprehensible the first time, actually.
Yeah. It's not really the same thing. You can't really sort of download a cheat sheet for a board game, or do it like a keyboard combination and enter God mode. It's not really the same kind of thing when it comes to actual. So that's and I think that the concept of game mechanics that has sort of that you have worked with and studied for so long, just by actually building games from scratch, must give you, as you said, a huge edge now that you're designing like learning experiences and similar, right?
Yeah, definitely, because it's not just about the game mechanics. It's also actually how they are connected. We gamification game designers, we think about games as systems. A box of a framed system, complicated or uncomplicated, but mostly we want the system to function proper, and that's it may sound a bit boring, but many game scholars thinks as game as designed rule systems, right? Different kind of rule system, and if it's enjoyable, entertaining, we say it's a good designed rule system, more or less.
Yeah. So okay, well let's because we're today. I mean, and we could. I mean, we could. I know we could talk about game design and the intricate details of gamification for a long time, you and me.
Yeah,
And we have. I know that we've done as well.
yeah.
But if we're going to let's apply your expertise to some everyday examples, like a learning example. What I mean to explain to the viewers here. I mean, gamification in learning. What do we actually? Because everybody uses that as an expression, but what does that actually mean for you when we say, oh, we're going to use some gamification for our sort of e-com and ed tech thing?
Yeah. Actually, I think that a lot of people, at least here in Sweden and Scandinavia, are missing out on the things that learning experience is also a type of design. You have to do some planning. You have to think about what is the outcome and how can I make the learners, if it's children or if it's trainees in a corporate training program, how can I make the experience so the outcome benefits me as a designer? And it could be math, it could be learning how to use VR, whatever. But you have to think about how can I apply game design on the learning situation. So a quite basic framework that I always use when I applied it, I think that what is the goal? What is the rules to achieve that goal? What is how can I provide the best feedback? And where is, how to say, the barriers, the enablers? Where if I do a course or if I do a 1 hour session, doesn't really matter. Where can I put in the feedback and provide a lot of positive and how to say intuitive feedback to the user? But also, how can I make the learners connect and help each other? So working with social cultural perspective on learning, I guess.
Okay.
Because me having a background in board games, it's a social event. You cannot play Monopoly or whatever you like to play. You can play it by yourself. You have to play with other players, and then you do what social cultural learning talks about a lot: appropriation. I see that you have a tactic, Donny, that is very useful. Then I copy it and make it my own, and that's actually a learning going on there, right? I see that you do something that is profitable in this situation, and then I copy it and make it. How can I use it to elevate my position here?
That sounds a lot like, when we're kids and we're just learning how to do things by just copying people around ourselves, like the basic of human learning. But coming back to what you said there, is that really interesting concept of the the social aspect, because I think learning, I can just say for me, I mean, because I grew up in an analog learning situation. Learning for me was a very solitary experience where I was alone trying to play my Monopoly by myself. And somebody was telling me which way I should go, and it was a very looking back, it's quite a lonely experience. But how would you apply the social part to a learning situation?
You talk a lot about self-directed learning, and that's also something that's really interesting. And then I will use another technique entirely, actually. But you can, let's say, if you need the social aspect when you do a self-directed learning, find, how do you say, supporters in your network. It can be an analog network, or it, for you example, it would probably be your family, probably some aunt, some kind of relative that could support you in your learning, make you do your homework or something like that. But in a digital environment, a connected environment, you could find supporters in your close or your extended network that could support you in your learning, not helping you out do your tasks. That's not learning, but help you be motivated towards learning. But if you go to do a self-directed learning entirely without the supporting network, like Tibetan monks or monks in Catholic Church, then I would use another theory here. I would use goal setting. I do it all the time. During the COVID-19, I had these post-its, and in the end of the day, last 15 minutes of my workday, I knew what I had to do the day after. I wrote it down on between 8 to 16 post-it notes, put it around my screen, and when some tasks were big, some tasks were small, but I had to do them all before I could do something else. And that's goal setting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's gamification also. The gamification for learning. That because I have different tasks that I had to complete. Then I worked with different colors. Some for the afternoon, some for the before lunch, and rewarded myself with coffee or sometimes even a cinnamon bun. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. But that's actually I love the combination of analog and digital in that. I mean, because actually it's a tangible thing that you can actually sort of move around and touch and move while working on a digital task, because it tends to be only digital otherwise.
Because I have I'm quite transparent here. I have actually never found a good app or software or information system that I'm in all the time. Some people lives in their inbox, some people live in the Miro, some people lives in Unity, but I'm all over the place. So analog post-it notes around my screen, that's the interface I'm working with most of my daytime. Yeah, so
cool.
that's the thing for me. Yeah.
Cool. I'll just take a question here as well from Kate. Hi, Kate. Wonderful to see you online. I'm curious about gamification and corporate training. Have you seen that those in corporate learn better when the training is gamified compared to the average test and score setting? Do we have any examples of that?
Yeah, there's a bit of research on that, and also a bit. I've been working with LKAB and SKF and Stena and different kind of traditional industry here in Sweden, and it depends how you learn better. They having a background as a teacher, learning is very hard to measure. You can measure, do they have better exam scores? Yeah, but if we go into make a follow-up study, talking as an academic now, 9 months later, we don't actually know if they had. So that's quite hard to talk about. Do they learn better? But it's better. You can see increased results. You can see increased satisfaction, job satisfaction, and satisfaction with the training program. But you can and that leads to other. It has spin-off effect that I want to continue work here. I feel that this corporation is aligned with my values and so on and so forth. So it gain other benefits. But talk about learning.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's not just gamification. It's all pedagogical or analogical methods.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kate, for that question. And I will just a nasty comment from me then.
Yeah.
Not and that's in general then. I'm going to invent a new word here. Have you learn washing? When companies sort of they have their employees do this test, be it unbiased gender test, or you have to do this test to be we have to do this training, and then
mandatory training. A lot of
exactly and then people
training.
And then people sit at home and then they click through their sort of training thing. Whilst watching TV or whatever, and then the company can say all of our employees have gone through the training, but that doesn't mean that they've learned anything.
No, that's really hard to measure. Yes.
Cool.
But that's actually something that I'm contemplating about a lot right now, because there's a learning revolution in a lot of cooperation. You see learning management, learning and development, learning experience designers are hired from all the big tech, all the big corporations out there. But I have come to realize that they don't really, it's not a consensus of what they what they want,
No.
but or what they need. They haven't done, how to say, a proper groundwork for it.
No.
Yeah.
Cool. And one more question from Ali. Is it possible to use gamification to teach or display the value of your product or service to your customers? So this would be like a sales effort, or maybe a teach your customers about your product thing.
Yeah, definitely. It could definitely be used to communicate better, to gain better communication between you and your client. I know that there's a lot of, that's actually what my PhD is about. It's about the learning cooperation, but also the communication during transformation, because there's value proposition that is changing. And you want the client to understand that your value proposition is changing as well as the company does. So there's some studies, I haven't conducted them, but there's some studies that say that communication through participation, that could be gamification, is more, how to say, effective than just rely on how to say, white papers and other kind of info, email, or infographics, and so on and so forth. Because gamification is always about to engage, to make the consumer of knowledge to a producer, or even a prosumer, both consuming and producing, being active.
So how would that work then? If I'm trying to communicate the value of my product, like Ali asked here, can we exemplify that in any way of how would a conversation or a dialogue look like in an example there? Is there anything we can?
Yeah, but mostly if you are developing you have been selling like, say, screwdrivers for 50 years, half a century, and now you want to sell IoT screwdrivers that are self-screwing. Yeah, or whatever. But you are then the normal way to do it is to make a commercial, or send a info letter, or do some kind of marketing campaign around it. And yeah, it affects some, but we are not living in an information economy at the moment. We are living in an attention economy. To get through the noise out there, you actually have to engage your persona, or the group that you are targeting. So if you target them with something to activate them, the information have a higher probability to stick. And, because the automation screwdriver company, blah 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 blah, had made me do this, a mini task that activated the user, and that made them remember that yes, the 50-year-old screwdriver company don't do that anymore. They have actually quite hip, or cutting edge value proposition, meaningful as a user.
Exactly. And so it's all about activating them to do something, and then going back again, and then the back and forth kind of thing. And as you said, the prosumer process, when actually involving them in a process.
Yeah, and like I said before, immense put emphasis on the feedback. Not just that the communication message should be super clear, but when they throw the ball back to you and your company, you should provide them with enough feedback so they are engaged or primed to throw the ball back at you again. So
exactly. So encourage the back and forth. That's really interesting, because I read in a marketing. It was a marketing journal anyway, and the statement was, storytelling is out, conversations are in. So I mean, not storytelling out, but the one-way megaphone, I'm going to tell you what it's like, is sort of being replaced by us having a conversation of mutual understanding where you get to be part of this brand building effort.
Yeah, and that's entirely what games and gamification is about. Because if you go to watch a movie at the cinema, if we ever gonna do that again, this is a one-way communication, but the game is an interactive communication. If I fall asleep, which I had when I'm watching a movie, the movie continues, and I miss the entire message. But if I fall asleep playing a game, the game stops, because it's relied that I use the hand, the control, and steer the world in the direction I prefer. So that's the whole thing. It's about interactivity between two parts, or more parts, actually.
One thing where I see, the concept of gamification happening a lot. I mean, we see it everywhere. Everything from, as you mentioned, cinemas, where you can mention frequent flyer miles. We used to fly as well, with the flyer Euro bonus points, where you could sort of level up and that kind of thing. But if you look at, sports and training and fitness and apps for sports, I hear gamification a lot in those sectors, where it's all about getting a badge, or you do something, you can get a point or something like that. However, I would want to ask you, when it comes to, do you ever encounter this kind of concept as a negative? As a not constructive. Can it also scare people away?
There's a lot of misinterpretation about what gamification actually is. I actually wrote a paper a year ago about and it's called the first rule of gamification: do not talk about gamification. Because when I say gamification, a lot of people start to get all these crazy ideas what their product is going and in a direction that they are not really comfortable with. But when we talk about, it's about behaviors, it's about behavioral psychology, motivational psychology, and all that, and talk about how it actually can increase meaning or increase the value of your product. That's actually what gamification it's about. And another thing that scares, it's two more things that actually scares me, and not there's a definition problem, yes, but one other thing, that there's a lot of people that say that they can do gamification, but actually they don't. They just smash on some game mechanics in the interface and say, yeah, it's gamified, but actually it ain't. It's a very superficial gamification that is haven't have the design thinking of games included, the ecology, the connectedness between the actions. It's not gamified. So that's a problem with the gamification industry as a whole. But the third thing, there are actually people that can do it and do it really good. And they can actually use this, because we haven't have an ethical discussion about where are we heading. If we compare with nudging, and the Richard Taylor Sunstein bunch, they had quite early a discussion about nudging and sludging, and where goes the line. And actually, nudging should be about elevate or helping the individual to do the right choice. Gamification hadn't had that. We have some some researchers in Tampere, Finland, Tammerfors, that is talking about gamification and gamblification, when you use gamble elements in gamification design. There are also some people in the US, here in Sweden as well, that talks about dark patterns of gamification, different game mechanics that if you combine them right, because you connecting right into our evolutionary system with this, and giving us dopamine hits that makes us continue do things that we really not thinking about that we are doing. So if we take your example, exercise, you can, if you know how to do this right, you can probably make some of your user, not all, but some of your user do a lot of exercising. But is it really good to work out 12 hours a day? No, because you will harm the body.
Yeah, that's. This ties into. I mean, as I said, we could probably go on for the rest of the day here, and but we won't because this is a coffee break. But I mean, I remember the book Hooked. That was all about how to create attention grabbing and habit creating apps, right? And the guy that wrote it, he realized that he'd sort of created a monster. So now he's actually written a book about how to disconnect from these things that actually are taking too much of our attention. So it's it's interesting when you bring up the ethics discussion that hasn't come yet, which is really, really interesting because it's a powerful tool that can be used in both for good and for bad.
Yeah, it's a how do you say, a Demolichus sword. It has two sides, and I think that, and actually it's very easy in a learning environment. For students in university, if they finish their let's say bachelor one term before the planned date, they have gained half a year. But if you do it in a corporate training context, the employees have probably put in a lot of effort to learn the new, let's say, mail client, and they haven't gained anything, but the corporation had.
Yeah.
So you cannot just take. You have to all the designs and context. You have to do thorough discussion. Is this ethical? Actually.
Yeah. Okay. One last question here from Kate as well. I've noted gamification come through in marketing of mobile games, where during an ad, they will actually have you interact with a portion of the game to pique your interest. So you can actually maybe, you can click on it, or you can play something, or you can move something around the screen. I'd love to see how other companies would implement this for marketing their products. I mean, interacting with a teaser somehow. Anything?
There's been a lot of different gamification. Don't have to be digital. There's a lot of company that when this is quite a very common example in gamification how marketing used. Bungie, who did the Halo games way back in 2000, I think it was 2006, something like that. They released the game actually a couple of months before the actual release, and they put different kind of, how to say, leads, clues out on the web on different sites. So the users, the most dedicated users, started a movement looking for different web pages and connected the dots, and they found a place, a position in Google Maps. If they went there, they found the game. So the actual Halo, and they made a game, a meta game of finding this game, and that it was a huge commercial success in the US.
That's actually cool. I remember, I mean, back in the early 2000s when I was in the mobile content industry, we did a promotion for Sony games, where you had to go into like 4 different stores and take pictures of QR codes. And then if you could, if you had the 4 QR codes, then you got the thing. I've forgotten all about that. I'm looking at the time here. I don't want to spend too much of your time in the day, of course. Thank you so much for this. But we do have some things that I want to go through before we reach the end of our coffee break. And of course, and I mean, last week, when I had the Excel wizard David Stavegård online, we did a stupid fun quiz, and I showed some pictures, and no, I did some gestures, and he was to guess which movie they were from. And I know that I know I was speaking to you, and I said, "What can I quiz you on?" And you went sort of, "I don't know, how about Amiga 500 games or something?" So So here's a couple of Amiga 500 games. Just to see if you can pinpoint the ones that we're thinking of, and I'll just show you some screens. Here's maybe I'll do this one first. Here's a first screen of a game from the Amiga 500.
Yeah, it's Speedball.
Yes, of course, Speedball 2. Yeah, wonderful. Well done. Here's a difficult picture.
Is it Turrican?
No, it's
No,
not.
it's Lemmings. It's Lemmings.
It's Lemmings. Yes, it is. Beautiful. And then another one.
Oh, that's hard.
And it's hard to see. It's because there are some other images I could take, but they're sort of kind of giveaways. So this is getting harder. It's just a gamification thing.
Is it worms or something?
It is worms. It is.
Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. And then, of course, to finish it off. Finish it off. How about this one?
Pinball Fantasies.
Yes, indeed. But this is actually pinball. It's Pinball Dreams.
Okay.
But but the cool thing with this is, as you were talking about before, this is a Swedish company that made the best pinball game. They were called Digital Illusions, that became Dice.
Yes.
That then, of course, released Battlefield 1942. And here's one which I have. This is hard. But this is from and I'll give you a clue that we're branching away from the Amiga now.
Yeah, this is. I know this one actually.
This is my favorite game, all-time favorite. This is what I played for. I mean,
but it's on the Mac device.
Yes, it is.
I was a PC player, but
you had Doom. You had Doom.
Yeah,
and I had this one.
Yeah, but it's something on M.
Yes, it's Marathon.
Yeah, Marathon. Yeah, the Bungie. Yeah,
Bungie, who then were bought by Microsoft, and this actually Marathon became the blockbuster release for Halo on Xbox in 2001. Yeah. So the whole Halo series actually started back in '92 with Marathon on 94 on the Mac. And that was my thing. Totally.
Yeah, but I had friends who played it, but I just played it a couple of times. But I love that you could have dual pistols. It was one of the first games you could have dual pistols. Actually, yeah.
But you nailed the Amiga games. Well done.
I did.
Well done. Okay. We ending off the show. We always have the top 3 tips from our guests, and these are your top 3 tips for working with gamifications, right? So tip number 1 from Adam on gamification is the word meaningful.
Yeah, it's for the user, for the stakeholder, whatever. Most of the stakeholders, the design should be meaningful. It should apply to meaning to all the stakeholders. You have to do a lot of stakeholder mapping. So that's super important.
Very good. Tip number 2, create value.
Yeah, gamification should create value. If you do gamification for good that I work with, you should. What's the value proposition and how can we elevate it for the user, the stakeholders, or the client?
Awesome. And then tip number 3.
It should be intuitive. A good design, you can talk with any UX designers, any game designers. It should be intuitive. It should not need a lot of explaining. I should get a grip, provide affordances that you can see that I should use it this way. I've been working with a lot of different, engineering program that has been interface, and they doesn't really put an effort to the human-centered design aspects of interfaces. But we're living in a different time now, my friend.
Oh yeah, it is. I
have to put emphasis on that one. Yeah,
agreed. Thank you so much, Adam, for being a part of the Innovation Coffee Break, the Innovation Fika today. Short coffee break just for everyone out there. It will be recorded and uploaded on YouTube. Thank you for spending time with me, and thank you for some really good stuff. Really nice. Thanks again. Thanks for being a part of the show. And bye for now. And I will say goodbye to Adam, and I will say goodbye to everyone out there by just saying, don't forget to follow me on social media, Donny S. Ligones. Subscribe to my newsletter and check out the YouTube channel where this will be uploaded in a couple of days. And for now, thank you all. Take care and have a great day and the rest of the week. Thank you and goodbye.